Tim, how you doing?
Good, Michael. I saw the Yankees the other day. I walked past Booney's office. He was there with Tim Naring and a catching instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Booney calls me in to break the tie. Is it a glove or is it a mitt? So I explain that anything other than what the catcher wears and the first baseman wears is a glove because it has fingers. But it's a catcher's mitt and it's a first baseman's mitt. So I was called in to break the tie between Tim Naring and the catching instructor, who was calling it a catcher's glove when it's actually a catcher's mitt. Yes.
And now in the old days, when they didn't really have defined fingers, like it could have been a shortstop mitt, the one that Phil Rizzuto used. But right now, you're right; those are gloves, and it's a first baseman's mitt and a catcher's mitt. So Tanner Swanson thought it was a first baseman's glove?
No, it wasn't Tanner Swanson. It was somebody else. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm not assigning blame. I was just so thrilled that I would be called in to be the judge on something that is so passionate to me. The difference between a glove and a mitt. Just like your winter gloves, Michael, the ones you wear with your overcoat, they have fingers. Those are gloves. But when you wear your mittens, there are no fingers in mittens. That's the difference.
Beautifully said. Now, since you were down in Tampa, the Yankees have suffered a lot of injuries, Tim. I still think that they can come out of the American League and play in the World Series because the American League, admittedly, is not as strong as the National League. What's your feel on the Yankees right now?
Well, they've taken a major step backwards. There's no way around that when you lose Garrett Cole, Luis Gil, who will be back, of course. But, yes, I agree with you. They still will be good enough to come out of the American League and go to the World Series. For exactly the same reason that you said, Michael. I don't see a great team in the American League. Now, the Rangers can really hit. They can't nearly swing the bat as poorly as they did last year with all their injuries. So they are a very dangerous team if they can figure out their rotation. But if you look at Baltimore, we're not sure there. The rest of the East, the Red Sox are significantly better. Those three teams from the Central are all made the playoffs, but I just don't see them being great. And the AL West, other than the Rangers, there are some holes there too. So, yes, the Yankees have as good a chance as anyone to go to the World Series out of the American League at this point.
All right, so let's move over to the National League. We saw the Dodgers win the 2 games in Japan against the Cubs. Is there a team in the National League that you think could stop the Dodgers from going back to the World Series?
Look, the Dodgers are the best team. If they keep their starting pitching healthy, it's ridiculously deep, as is their lineup. But this is baseball, Michael. You know the last team to repeat as world champions. It's been a long time. So, yes, I think the Phillies are good enough to beat the Dodgers. I think the Braves, if everything works out, are good enough to beat the Dodgers. I think the Diamondbacks are really, really good too. And if everything goes perfectly for the Mets, I think they could also. That's how strong the National League is right now. But if you're asking me who's the best team in baseball, to me, without question, it's the Dodgers, without a doubt. And if I have to pick who's going to win, I'm picking them. But this is baseball, and there are no guarantees in this sport, which is what makes it just so great.
And if you think about it, Tim, I mean, they won the World Series last year, but they almost got knocked out in the first round. They were down 2-1 to the Padres, and somehow they did it without pitching. They won a World Series without any of their starting pitchers that were there at the beginning of the year, and I find that incredible. They did it essentially with a bullpen and retreads.
Michael, they won the NLCS using 2 opener games. And they won the World Series using an opener game. They weren't even close to it full strength, and they still won. But you're right. If Freddie Freeman doesn't hit a grand slam in Game 1, it's possible the Yankees win that World Series. But the bottom line is the Dodgers were exceptionally good at the end of last year, and they're demonstrably better now, given what they've added. Now, if they can stay healthy, they are a 100-win team for sure.
So I opened up the show about 40 minutes ago, Tim, talking about Ohtani might be a bigger star globally than even LeBron James or anybody that you want to pick from the NBA because, you know, the ratings for Japan came out for the first game, Tim, and it was 25 million people watched that game. I mean, that's double an NBA final, double a World Series, double a Stanley Cup, and a quarter of the Super Bowl. Can you even come close to saying, is there anybody you've ever seen that approximate what Ohtani is to the sport and to the globe?
Well, Michael Jordan in his prime was pretty darn good.
Right.
But back then, it wasn't the same as what we have now with social media and everything else. And with baseball globalizing the way that it does, and Ohtani being a once-in-a-lifetime player who happens to be the best player in the game right now, and wherever he goes, people follow him. It was unbelievable watching him in Japan. Just wherever he goes, everyone is looking at him. You can't take your eyes off of him. So I think he's the biggest athlete in the world right now, and I don't see that ending anytime soon.
Is there anybody in your lifetime that you could say even comes close to the talent that he's had in baseball?
Well, again, we've never seen anybody do this before.
Right.
I mean, we have to, it's obvious we have to go back to Babe Ruth, and I really believe if we had the DH in 1920, Babe Ruth would have hit 50 homers and won 20 games. I really believe that. But he didn't throw 100. He didn't run like this guy. He didn't do things like this guy. Nobody's ever done anything quite like this. And again, when you add the pitching factor, Willie Mays is the greatest player I've ever seen, but he didn't pitch like this guy did.
How does baseball tap further into this, this gold mine that they have in the Far East? Because I read that baseball made $35 million just from these two games, but obviously television contracts are up in 2028 and they could really tap into it, but that's a market that is just, for lack of a better phrase, so untapped. How does baseball make it even more so part of their firmament?
Right. Well, they just got to keep getting players from Japan because, Michael, 15 years ago, Bobby Valentine told me that every everyday player in Japan could make a major league team. And those are the position players. And we all know the pitching is even deeper than the position players. And then when you see Roki Sasaki last night or this morning throwing 101 miles an hour with his first two pitches, and you see Yamamoto the day before with that killer split, and Shota Imanaga, who's had a tremendous rookie year for the Cubs, those guys are everywhere. The skill level is ridiculously high. And if baseball wants to keep mining there, I think they should, because not only can the players play, but they make the game bigger globally.
Is there anything that baseball could do, and we're talking with Tim Kurkjian here on the Michael K. Show, is there anything baseball could do that all the Japanese players don't directly go to the Dodgers?
Well, baseball is going to have to examine a lot of things here, Michael, as we move forward, deferred money, everything else. But look, I'm sorry. The Dodgers are just following the rules of the game. They're doing what most teams would do if they had those kind of resources. But maybe only the Dodgers have that. And lost in all this is just how well they draft and develop players. They have a better system than most teams do. Granted, they have more than anybody else when it comes to money and everything else, but they do it really well there. And that kind of gets lost amongst all the money that they spend.
All right, give me, I don't know if you've done the homework yet, but who do you think is in the World Series this year?
I'm going to say the Dodgers are going to go to the World Series, and I'm going to say at the moment the Rangers are going to go to the World Series. But that's going to mean that Jacob deGrom has to throw 150 innings at least, and they have to get some of the young, Rocker and Leiter and those guys really going. But, Michael, that team can mash, and I think they're going to be a very dangerous offensive team. That's my pick for today, but I'm going to change my pick tomorrow because that's the way spring training and baseball operates.
Now, something jumped out at me when you were talking about the National League. You said this team could knock the Dodgers, and you said if everything goes right for the Mets, they could. What's giving you reservations about the Mets that you put the codicil in that everything has to go right?
All right. Well, I just mean the catcher, Francisco Alvarez, has to come back because he's really good. He can hit, and he knows how to run a game, and he's totally invested in making the pitchers better. They have to get these guys, Montas and Manaea. They got to get them healthy. Montas won't be back until June. And then some of their other pitchers have to be a little bit better than we think. That's when I say everything has to go well. But, Michael, that is a great offensive team when everything is right there. And I really believe Alonso's going to come back and have a tremendous year. Soto's going to change the entire look of that team offensively, just like he did with the Yankees last year. So I'm not saying everything has to go right, but if they're going to beat the Dodgers, those things have to happen.
So I will see you a week from Saturday. You'll be doing the game on ESPN Radio, Yankees Milwaukee?
Yes, I'm doing the radio that day, so I will not be there on opening day because I'll be in Bristol doing opening day, but I'll be there Friday, even though there's no game. And, yes, I'll see you Saturday.
Look forward to seeing you, and I thank you for coming on.
Okay, Michael, see you. Bye.
Thank you. That is Tim Kurkjian right there.